All right, happy Tuesday, Surrey Christian School. Excited to be getting ready for school to start in September. And we are excited at Surrey Christian School to have you return. We've missed you, and we're grateful for this opportunity to be together again. Some people are wondering why we're even open. Well, the simple answer to that comes from the Provincial Health Authority, and we're open because it is deemed safe to be open. When that changes, the Provincial Health Officer will decide that we're not open or that we change to a stage. And I think part of the reason why it is safe is because of the numbers, but maybe even more importantly because of all the protocols we have put in place to make sure kids are safe. I think it's also important that it gives us a good baseline to know kids and get them started on their school year well, in case we have to pivot to a different stage at some point during the year, should the COVID numbers dictate that. So what will it look like at Surrey Christian School? First of all, let me talk about safety. The first thing that's important is to know that students will be in cohorts, so much smaller numbers of kids together. You may have heard about that from the Minister of Education. And when students leave those cohorts, or when staff leave those cohorts, they'll be required to wear masks and practice physical distancing at all times. When students leave their cohorts or in common areas, they'll be required to wear masks and practice physical distancing at all times. Regarding masks, students need to come with masks for school. Surrey Christian School will provide one cloth mask for every student and staff member in the building. We will also have disposable masks available at the entrance of every school in case someone forgets theirs. But we encourage you to buy your own masks and to practice putting them on and make sure they fit. This is a new mask for me, and I'm still figuring out how it fits on my face, getting it adjusted. Encourage you to do that at home so you're not playing with your mask at school that often, because we don't want to touch our masks. What does it look like around safety for cleaning? Surrey Christian School has increased our janitorial time, especially including daytime janitors. And the idea around that is make sure that commonly used areas and commonly touched surfaces are cleaned on a regular basis. We're using supplies that have been approved for cleaning during this COVID pandemic. We've also purchased fog machines. Those aren't the ones you'd see at a rock concert, but these are fog machines that sanitize and disinfect. There'll be at least one of those at each campus, 2 at the high school for sure, and they're going to be disinfecting commonly used areas like the art room, computer labs, PE areas, and PE equipment rooms, and out-of-school care facilities to make sure they're disinfected on a regular basis. That disinfecting is actually food safe. It's super safe for your kids, and it's approved by Center for Disease Control. We're also going to practice hand sanitization. There are stations all over the campuses for students to hand sanitize, and posters that remind them how to do that. There'll be bottles as well in different spots, especially at the entrance. You're encouraged to send a personal little hand sanitizer kit with your own child if you want. And pre-K to 7s all have classrooms with sinks and soap so they can just do regular hand washing. We'll be reminding kids to do that and actually instructing primary kids how to do that and scheduling times for them to wash their hands. Again, a good thing to practice at home, be ready for school to start. We're also going to have zones for our cohorts. So people are wondering, what does it look like when kids go outside? Is it just a big schmoz of 500 kids all in the playground? Kids will remain in their cohorts. And there'll be zones that are, here's an example of a zone sign. There'll be zones that are set aside for them to maintain the integrity of their cohort when they're outside on breaks. And breaks will be staggered at different lunch breaks at different properties. We're also going to try and organize our pickup and drop-off protocols to maintain those protocols as best we can using different entrances and exits of the school building. Again, that will be different for each campus. There'll be some one-on-one work that happens in schools. And when that happens with educational assistants, we will use physical barriers made of plexiglass to make sure when an educational assistant moves outside of their cohort that they've got that physical barrier. Again, maintain the integrity of the cohorts. For those of you who ride buses, our buses will also use fog machines to sanitize them on a regular basis, and every student will be required to wear a mask when riding the bus. We've also restructured our routes so there are less students on the buses than regular, trying to minimize transmission and contamination. There are many more protocols around safety that we've put in place and have been approved by WorkSafe BC and the Minister of Education in our restart and our safety plans. They include things like occupancy loads for shared spaces, protocols for who can visit and who can enter the building around adults and parents, visitors, staff-only protocols for how they work together outside their cohorts as well. So I'm hoping you can trust that we are following WorkSafe BC in detail. What does it look like for learning? Well, we're excited to have students back in the building to kickstart the year and provide those great formative, rich learning experiences. And we've structured our schedules differently to make that happen. For example, at the high school, we've gone to a quarter system. That means that students will go for 2 classes a day for 10 weeks. That also helps us minimize student movement in the building, maintain the integrity of the cohorts as well. We believe this will provide a strong baseline should we have to move out of stage 2 into stage 3, a strong baseline for learning and also a strong baseline for relationships and teachers and students knowing each other really well. Some of you are wondering about what happens with sick kids or when your own kids get sick. So first thing to know is as the same as in June, anyone who's symptomatic must stay home. They don't have to stay home for 2 weeks if they're symptomatic. They need to stay home until they're well enough to come back to school. That doesn't apply to all the siblings in the family. Anyone who's symptomatic, only that person stays home. And we're going to provide online support for those kids. If your child needs to stay home for a few days or longer or has to be quarantined for some other reason, we will provide online support for that. We're prepared to make that happen. People have also wondered what happens if there's a COVID positive result. The answer to that is really simple. If we get a COVID positive result in the school, our responsibility is to call the Fraser Health Authority and do exactly what they say. So we'll follow those protocols and they'll make the decisions for us as to what we're to do, what stays open, what gets closed. We're ensuring at Surrey Christian School that we're ready to support all of our students regardless of whether they're home or in school and whether or not we go to a pivot to a stage 3 or not. So we've invested in technology and we're ready to make that happen. If the back to school face-to-face instruction is problematic for your family or makes complications for your family due to health reasons, please contact us and we'll engage you in a conversation on a case-by-case basis around how we can temporarily support you. I hope that makes sense. And finally, we've received a whole bunch of emails from parents, and I've gotten back to some of you, but not all. And what my promise to you is that someone will respond to your email within the next 48 hours. If you don't get a response by Friday morning, please resend again. We've been a little overwhelmed with them, and we will follow up and engage you on a case-by-case basis about your concerns if those haven't been answered in this video. Again, we're confident in the safety protocols we put in place, and we're excited to see your students. We're hoping they're excited to come back in September. Wish you all the best until we see you soon. Enjoy this great big package of material that's being attached to this video. It gives you a lot more information about return to school. God's richest blessings, and we'll see you in September.